Welcome to the Earning Freedom Podcast. I am Michael Santos with michaelsantos.com. Each day I strive to provide some type of information or podcast that will inspire people who are incarcerated or people who are facing struggle to start preparing for a new life. A life as a law-abiding, contributing citizen. Sometimes I talk about the strategies that empowered me through the 26 years that I served. Sometimes I interview other formerly incarcerated individuals who emerged successfully. And sometimes I interview business leaders who share strategies for building successful businesses and offer suggestions on what individuals who are in trouble can do to begin preparing for success. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with Jason Doze. Now, Jason just kind of recently came into connection with me, and I'm going to let him explain how. Jason, tell us a little bit about how you and I became connected.
Sure, Michael. Thanks for having me on, by the way. So in 2011, I was sent to California to a prison in Taft, and I was actually serving time with you. I had told my family after reading your books.
Wait a minute. That's a little bit too fast. Let me back that up a little bit. Slow that down a little. Let me ask you another question. You said that you were incarcerated. Had you ever been incarcerated before?
No, that was my first arrest, first incarceration.
How old were you?
I was 35.
Now, tell me what thoughts you had when you were brought into the criminal justice system. What thoughts did you have when you walked in? Wow.
Yeah. So when I got incarcerated, I was really thinking, I was really like in a spot in my life where I had to reevaluate everything that I was doing. And my feeling was at first pretty hopeless because I wasn't seeing the possibility of anything that could come from my incarceration that was going to be positive.
What kind of work did you do prior to your imprisonment?
Well, what I was doing is I was growing marijuana and also doing photography and different kinds of artwork.
And so what did you anticipate doing when you finished your sentence?
Well, while I was in, I focused on doing artwork, and I wanted to get out and go back to it.
So you had that vision when you initially recognized you were going to go to prison. You had a plan that says, okay, I'm going to become a better artist and emerge and build a career as an artist?
Yeah, it took some time. After about 8 to 10 months, I started to really focus on, okay, now what am I going to do and how am I going to get there?
How long was your sentence?
I got 6.5 years.
So you surrendered to Taft Federal Prison Camp in 2011. Is that what I understood you to say?
Well, actually, my case was in Dallas. So I was arrested in California and made my way through Con Air and the buses and the federal system back to have my case heard. And after about a year of being in, I was sent to Taft.
So did you surrender to Taft by yourself, or did the marshals take you to Taft?
No, the marshals took me to Taft.
So when you walked into Taft in 2011, you'd already been incarcerated for about a year as a pretrial detainee. Is that accurate?
No, I had been arrested the whole time. I wasn't on pretrial.
Well, that means you were in custody is what I'm asking ever since the day of your arrest. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, so isn't that a pretrial detainee?
Well, I'd actually, my trial and everything was over, so I don't know if they consider that pretrial or not. I was.
Oh, I see. So you were taken into custody after you were found guilty.
Correct.
I see. And so when you walked into prison at Taft, you said that you had found my books. How was it that you came into contact with those books? Do you know?
From what I remember, getting there and kind of getting a lay of the land, someone had mentioned you and said they had a couple of your books, and I flipped through it and I was really interested. So I read them, and it was just, I was really kind of blown away by your experience. And
but you and I did not meet while we were at Taft, did I? Because in 2011, I was getting close to the end of my journey, and I was just about to be transferred from Taft to Atwater. I left Taft in 2000, I think in the fall of 2011. When did you get there?
I got there in January 2011.
Okay, so I don't think that we met while we were there, or did we?
No, I don't think so. I think we were on two separate schedules.
Okay, so you eventually found my work, and did that have any type of an influence on your adjustment inside?
Well, what really struck me is, the first part of my imprisonment, I was really pretty downtrodden about everything that had happened. And after reading your books, I realized, wow, this guy is on top of his game. He's really working to change himself and change things on the outside as well. And it just inspired me because I figure, this guy got a lot of time and he's really managing it well. And if this guy can do it, then I can certainly do it.
Absolutely. Any individual can face a struggle or face a challenge and pursue a new path, turn a new leaf, and start building success. Tell us what you did to start building your success, Jason.
Well, while I was in prison, I just wanted to absorb as much information as I could. I really didn't get involved with any playing cards or hanging out, watching movies too much. I just wanted to read. I read mostly a lot of nonfiction books. Luckily, in Taft, we were offered correspondence courses, so I immediately enrolled in those. And just had a vision of, what I wanted to do when I got out. And so I completed a year of college courses there before I got shipped to another prison. And also while I was in prison, I was researching universities and financial aid and just everything I could to see what I could do for when I got out. I just wanted to hit the ground running and be able to continue on with my goal.
And how was your journey through that 6-year sentence at Taft? Did you feel that you left there in the best possible way, or are there some things that you would have liked to have changed as you look back?
Well, really, I took advantage of all the programming that they offered, which was mostly through the college. I just hoped I could have got some more college before leaving there.
When did you leave prison then?
I actually got out of the halfway house in January.
So are you concluded with the Bureau of Prisons now, or are you still under home confinement?
No, I signed out of the halfway house in the BOP on January 21st. And that same day, actually, I was able to go ahead and start college full time again. They wouldn't allow it in the halfway house, so I waited till I got out of the halfway house. Now I'm in college.
Tell us a little bit about your experience in the halfway house.
For me personally, the halfway house was probably the worst time I did. It was just very difficult to get anything done, or I requested to go to college. They wouldn't let me. It was tough. I was just.
How much time did you have in the halfway house?
It was 6 months.
So you had 6 months in the halfway house. Did you you furloughed then from Taft to Dallas halfway house? Is that right?
Actually, I had left Taft in 2013 to go to Lompoc. So I was at Lompoc for another year and then furloughed from there to Dallas halfway house.
And when you went to the halfway house, walk us through, if you can, for people who would, just think of yourself a year and a half ago or so, and you would have liked to have known what is the halfway house experience like? Tell us what it was like getting off of the bus or the airplane, surrendering to the halfway house. What did you experience?
My initial experience of the halfway house is that it was just pretty much on lockdown. Very little freedom. A lot of oversight, a lot of rules.
You said very little freedom. Were you able to bring a cell phone with you?
No.
So no cell phone while you were in the halfway house. Were you able to go out and look for a job?
Yeah. After the first couple of weeks, and of going through like an orientation. We could get bus passes to go out and look for work. Personally, I had left Taft with a back injury, so I was put on basically a medical confinement. So I was pretty much stuck in the halfway house.
So you reported to the halfway house and you had less liberty than you had while you were inside federal prison?
Yes, actually.
Tell me about that. What did you do?
Basically, I was just stuck in the halfway house, and I believe, what they would consider a medical liability, because the BOP, I couldn't get any medical care while I was in the BOP. So when I got to the halfway house, I was actually barely able to walk. And after a few months of being there, then they put me on a home confinement at my house.
And what was your experience on home confinement like?
Home confinement was much better, just being able to be home and have all the comforts of home. But on the flip side, too, it was very restrictive. I couldn't leave unless I was going to the halfway house to sign in.
So jobs were not an opportunity for you?
That's correct.
Would you say that your experience was typical or atypical of most people who go to a halfway house?
As far as the sentiment goes of kind of being stuck at the halfway house or on home confinement being stuck, I would say most people would agree with that. But I think my experience was atypical because of my medical issue that I had, because I wasn't able to get out and go to work and be out for the day.
And so you've concluded your obligation to the Bureau of Prisons, you said, in January. What has been the experience of your life since then?
It's a huge contrast. Now I feel like I have my freedom. The day I signed out of the halfway house, my life started. I immediately, like I was saying, I enrolled in full-time school. I'm able to move about as I please, and really I've just been able to do kind of what I want to do with my life.
Where did you go to school, and what did you study, and what was your goal with regard to school?
Right now I'm getting my associate in arts here in Dallas, and I am going for a art and technology degree at UTD. And I graduate with the associates this time next month, and then I start full-time summer school at UTD also next month.
Well, congratulations on reaching that goal. What are you doing for work right now, Jason?
Right now, I'm a full-time student.
How are you supporting yourself then?
Right now, I'm supporting myself with the financial aid that I received.
So an individual who relieves from prison can get sufficient financial aid to both attend school and pay for his living expenses?
Well, I'm living with one of my parents right now, so that's been a huge support for me. But there is some funds available to help you take care of yourself. It won't pay for rent. It won't pay for anything like that, but it'll keep you going.
And what type of career do you anticipate building once you graduate?
With the degree I'm in, it's going to be based around website design, graphic design, and user interface. So really, there's just a lot of opportunity in that field and specialty on that technology.
What programs have you mastered so far since you've been back and had an opportunity to experiment with technology?
Well, this degree actually starts this summer. So right now I'm finishing the associate's degree, which is basically just core curriculum. And that's what's
What does the core curriculum consist of?
Core curriculum is just your basic courses, 2-year courses at a junior college.
What are those?
So you have government classes, economics, you have business courses, you have health courses. Depending on your major, mine was arts and business, so general business, human resources, things of that matter.
Will you be studying courses like the Adobe software programs that teach you InDesign, Illustrator, Audition, Photoshop, those types of programs?
Yes. I believe a lot of the programming is going to be JavaScript.
And so do you anticipate working for somebody else, or do you anticipate launching your own venture?
I anticipate working for someone else, at least for the first couple of years, and then maybe venture out on my own after that.
How old are you now, Jason?
I am 40.
40 years old. And tell us what, in retrospect, what you learned from this experience of being prosecuted by the criminal justice system and serving a 6.5-year sentence.
Oh, I've learned so much. You know, as far as, you know, if I could talk to myself before I got arrested, I would say that, you know, education is key. I feel that education is the only way out of my situation coming out of prison. I think the deck is stacked against felons. And
have you experienced any prejudice as a result of your felony conviction?
No, not really, not yet. But, you know, I can see the problems that I could possibly face very soon, you know, with getting a job and everything. I did actually, when applying for a loan, have someone tell me that I couldn't get financial aid with a drug conviction, but that turned out to be false. And, you know, you can get financial aid as a felon. So anybody who is in prison and maybe hearing the same thing, make sure to go ahead and fill out your FAFSA paperwork, because that stuff can all be taken care of while you're still in prison.
One of the challenges that people in prison may face is if they received financial aid and they received a drug conviction while they were getting financial aid, that could present some complications. Have you heard anything along those lines?
I actually read that, and I think that might be where some people don't quite understand as far as the administrators go. But yes, as long as you weren't on financial aid when you got your case, yeah, then you do qualify. And I believe that there's an appeal to that as well, though.
So you have found acceptance from both your probation officer, who is overseeing your supervised release, and from the community college that admitted you to begin your studies?
That's correct.
Tell us what you know about the job market from convicted felons. What did you hear while you were in the halfway house about people who are out actively searching for a job?
Well, I think most people were getting jobs, especially here in the area in Dallas. It's thriving economically. And I believe that the counselors were able to get people with jobs within a couple of weeks.
What kind of jobs were they getting, and what was the pay?
A lot of what I was hearing was manual labor jobs, welding, electrical work, etc. And they were usually starting around 10 an hour.
Is that a livable wage in Dallas?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's great, but it's doable.
Now tell me something. It's my understanding that the halfway house takes a bit of that money. Do you know it? Could you give us any insight on what people should expect if they're going to a halfway house and get a $10 an hour job?
Yeah, so the halfway house that I was at, they take 25% of the gross every month.
How are people able to make it work with those types of costs? What are you finding their strategy has been?
Well, most people, you know, if their finances are really strained and they don't have resources outside of the halfway house, then usually they're just going to be saving up the whole time they're at the halfway house until they're able to get something worked out on their own. Or for the guys that do have resources, then they can go on home confinement with their job after a month or a couple of months, depending on the region. Some people are out within a week or so. But here, guys were out in a few months, and, you know, they were able to stay with somebody who could help support them, and they could continue to pay the halfway house without it being too detrimental to them.
Jason, have you set any goals that you would like to achieve during this period of time that you're advancing through supervised release, or perhaps the next 5 years or 10 years?
Yes. My short-term goal, of course, is to graduate next month. And then longer term, I'm going to be getting my bachelor's, full-time employment, and then I would like to seek a master's degree as well.
Will you be going to work after you get or while you're completing your undergraduate degree, or are you going to wait until you finish school?
No, I'm probably going to try and get a job here at the university in a couple of weeks when I start.
What kind of job would you like to get?
Well, there's a lot of campus jobs. I really have to just kind of research it and find out where I can fit in. I'm pretty open, though. During
the 6.5-year sentence that you served, what changes did you observe in society when you came back?
I think one of the things I was telling my parents is I was shocked at how much everyone was glued to their smartphones. That was pretty incredible. And everything is just really high paced. And I knew that before going in, but when I got out, it was just like a shock at how fast everything was moving.
Has your probation officer given you anything that you need to be concerned about, or somebody who's incarcerated should be concerned about?
You know, I think I may have gotten lucky with my probation officer. I think it helped too. You know, it's in my jacket that, you know, I was in full-time school in college, got a 4.0. I was constantly doing any kind of program I could. And when I met him, I told him, you know, I want to complete my bachelor's degree. I'm intent on finishing this. And really, I just haven't heard anything from him. I do what I'm supposed to do, and he's letting me go about my business.
Did you go through the residential drug abuse program?
I did.
Could you tell us about the RDAP program?
Okay, what would you like to know?
I'd like to know as much as you can share in the next 7 minutes.
Okay. Well, I went to the Lompoc RDAP program. It's a 500-hour program. It's a live-in program. This particular one had its own camp, so we were separated from all the other inmates. If you weren't in RDAP, you weren't there. It was extremely difficult where I went. From what I understand, that was the pilot program.
What was difficult about it?
It was kind of like a boot camp scenario. From lights on in the morning to lights out, it was just all RDAP programming.
What did you do?
We basically woke up, went to what they call up meetings, and then after the meeting, it's 2 or 3 hours of in-class programming, and then basically...
Tell us about the in-class programming.
Okay. There's 5 different modules that are 2 months each, and they focus on different parts of, you know, what they... This is called cognitive behavioral therapy. So basically, it's like a reprogramming of learning how to deal with thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. And so it just was very specific, very rigorous, lots and lots of homework, tons of journals and journal entries and things of that nature.
How did they evaluate your performance?
Most of it was done with what's called a drug treatment specialist. So each group had about 24 people in it. And everything was done with this DTS right there in the room. And it was just a lot of what they call processing and talking things through and working through the homework and working through the journals. And it was really broad-based on what was acceptable to pass, so to speak.
How many days a week did you study through the program?
Well, 5 days a week we programmed, and then it was basically all day, every day, because doing the journals and all the extra work required everything through the weekend as well.
So you didn't have to have a job while you were in the RDAP program, a job in the prison?
Yeah, we had a part-time job. So we did our programming in the morning or in the afternoon and had a half day that we had to work.
Where did you work?
I worked as the photographer for the camp, so I actually had a really good job.
And so did you receive some time off for your participation in RDAP?
Yes. The RDAP I was in was given 12 months for completing the program.
So you left prison 12 months sooner than you otherwise would have left because you successfully completed RDAP.
That's correct.
And tell me, what did you have to do to qualify to get into RDAP?
I had to be involved in a drug case, which I was, for cultivation of marijuana. And I believe it has to be in your PSI that you were using a drug when arrested.
Did you find that there were people inside of the drug program that were participating even though they didn't have a drug history or a drug case?
Yes, I believe so.
Tell us about how they got into the program and how they benefited from the program.
I'm not sure how they got in exactly, but I can just assume that, they said they were on or using a drug or using alcohol at the time, which is pretty common. And
did it result in them getting out of prison earlier?
Yes, absolutely. If they qualified for the time off, then they also got the 12 months off.
How many people participated in the program with you?
I think there was 160 people at any given time in the program.
And did you have an opportunity to participate also in the Second Chance Act, which qualifies people for up to 12 months into a halfway house, or did your RDAP participation preclude you from that?
Yes, the RDAP is a mandatory 6 months halfway house.
So you got 12 months off of your sentence and another 6 months to the halfway house.
That's correct.
And how did that participation in RDAP influence your time both in the halfway house and on supervised release? Have you had any complications because of it?
In the halfway house, there is something called aftercare. So it was mandated that anyone that was released early through RDAP had to go to aftercare. That wasn't too bad. But after completing that, that's really been the extent of it.
You're not being burdened with unnecessary or repeated urine tests from your probation officer?
No, I don't think it's any more than the guys that didn't get RDAP. So as long as the UAs are clean, there's not a problem.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Jason, we've come to the end of our episode today on the Earning Freedom Network. Are there any parting words that you might want to give to people who are incarcerated and would love to hear about how they can prepare for success, not only through prison, but also upon release? Do you have any wisdom that you might send to yourself a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I would just say, look for any type of correspondence courses that you can do. There's stuff out there. There's colleges available, and use the time wisely because once you get released, things are moving quick out here, and you want to have a good step on what's going on.
Well, I thank you for sharing your story with members of the Earning Freedom Network. I wish you continued success, and stay tuned because we will continue bringing inspiring people on the Earning Freedom Network to help others incarcerated prepare for a successful journey.
Thanks, Michael.